To understand a military veteran, you must know. We left home as teenagers or in our early 20s for an unknown adventure. We loved our country enough to defend it and protect it with our own lives. We said goodbye to friends and family and everything we knew. We learned the basics, and then we scattered in the wind to the four corners of the earth. We found new friends and new family. We became brothers and sisters regardless of color, race, or creed. We had plenty of good times and plenty of bad times. We didn't get enough sleep. We smoked and drank way too much. We picked up both good and bad habits. We worked hard and played harder. We didn't earn a great wage. We experienced the happiness of mail call and the sadness of missing important events. We didn't know when or even if we were ever going to see home again. We grew up fast, and yet somehow we never grew up at all. We fought for our freedom as well as the freedom of others. Some of us saw actual combat, and some of us didn't. Some of us saw the world, and some of us didn't. Some of us dealt with physical warfare. Some of us dealt with psychological warfare. Most of us dealt with psychological warfare. We have seen and experienced and dealt with things that we can't fully describe or explain, as not all of our sacrifices were physical. We participated in time-honored ceremonies and rituals with each other, strengthening our bonds and camaraderie. We counted on each other to get our job done and sometimes to survive it at all. We have dealt with victory and tragedy. We have celebrated and mourned. We lost a few along the way. When our adventure was over, some of us went back home, and some of us started somewhere new, and some of us never came home at all, even if we came home. We have told amazing and hilarious stories of our exploits and adventures. We share an unspoken bond with each other that most people don't experience and few will understand. We speak highly of our own branch and poke fun at all the other branches. We know, however, that if needed, we will be there for each other. We will be there for our brothers and sisters and stand together as one in a heartbeat. Being a veteran is something that had to be earned, and it can never be taken away. It has no monetary value, and yet it is priceless. People see a veteran and they thank them for their service. When we see each other, we give that little upwards nod of the head or a slight smile, knowing that we have shared and experienced things that most people have not. So, from myself and the rest of the veterans out there, I commend and thank you all for what you have done and sacrificed for your country. Try to remember the good times and make peace with the bad times. Share your stories, but most importantly, stand tall and proud. You have earned the right to be called a veteran. There you go, Cindy. Drop the mic. That's it. Nothing else to say.
Okay, so here I go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Am I blushing? Thank you so much. That was awesome. Wow. How about that? Wow. Welcome everybody to another episode of Bucket List Coach Web Show Live. We are celebrating veterans this month, and today we're celebrating the Marine Corps birthday. How cool is that? So that video you just saw was from last November when Cindy wasn't having a horrible bout of bronchitis and was able to sing the Marine Corps birthday. Today we have a really special guest. This gentleman here, I can't even go into the length and breadth of his resume that he has amassed over the years, but let's just say that Taco is a pretty incredible guy. I'm going to pretty much just sit by the wayside like y'all are and just let him regale us in some really amazing stories. He's already been doing that. Welcome, Taco. Thanks for coming today.
Well, I appreciate it. And Cindy, I'm sorry. That's horrible that you have bronchitis and put you out like that, because I've been there, and that's, at least it's not double pneumonia. You're right.
There it is. There it is. Yeah.
I pray for speedy recovery.
Yes. Well, hey, everybody, I'm Robin Stern. I'm your Google guru. I'm also the executive director of Be Better, Not Bitter. Cindy said I had to say that because it is a nonprofit based in Dallas, Georgia. And I'm also a Marine veteran. So this month, I'm hosting the Bucket List Coach Web Show Live for yours truly, Miss Cindy. So this month, we're celebrating Aviation History Month, right? That's why Taco's here. That's why I'm here. We're also celebrating Gratitude Month with Thanksgiving and all. And on the 20th, I think it's the 27th or the 29th, we're going to celebrate the National Day of Giving. All right. So big shout out to National Day Calendar. You all know that Cindy is one of their big ambassadors. And again, I think she might have her own day on the calendar pretty soon. So I had some inside info from another interview we did recently with a National Day Calendar representative. But the Bucket List Coach Travel is hosting the first annual cruise based on the national days to Mexico Riviera. It's going to be next year, April 22nd through the 29th. Check out these national days. National Prime Rib Day, International Pay It Forward Day, Guitar Month, Brunch Month, and for Volunteer Month, the people on the cruise with Cindy are going to go volunteer at the Casa Hogar Orphanage in Puerto Vallarta. So check it out at MexicoBucketListCruise.com. That's MexicoBucketListCruise.com. And also, don't forget, be looking for Cindy's Day on the National Day Calendar. So anyone who wants to, who loves history, aviation history, and wants to celebrate this month, Cindy would love for you to take a trip to San Diego, one of her specialty markets. She has some great excursions, the Midway Museum and so forth. And there's a link that we'll drop in the chat as well. So here's the deal, guys. Mitchel Bell, Tall Tales of Taco Bell. Be sure to subscribe to his YouTube page, AKA call sign Taco. And he's going to tell us about the call signs. We were trying to go over that last month, but I'm sure he'll to fill us in some more. Now, here's the deal, folks. I worked on helicopters for a very, very short period of time. This guy was a badass who made it happen up in the cockpit. So I'm not even worthy to like scrub this guy's boots, but I get to introduce you today. So Taco, I'm going to take away and let you kind of just run with this and have at it. What do you want to tell us about, Taco? Maybe a little backstory about being a Marine and some of the crap we went through, huh?
Well, first of all, you can't be a pilot without mechanics working on the airplane. You know, team effort, brother. Because if we didn't have the armors, we didn't have the mechanics, you're not going anywhere. If I didn't have a navigator tapping me on the shoulder going, hey, sir, you need to turn right. You know, hitting 285. And we're going to a little island called Lodges out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. You don't get there, you know, so it's definitely a team sport. I'm not a single cockpit guy. You know, God love
we got you. We got you six.
I'm a crew concept guy. You know, we'd have 5-6 people rolling when we took off for Fans of Freedom.
Gotcha.
No, I grew up, you know, it's funny. I was thinking about this. So I'm going to be the guest of honor for Recruiting Station Fort Worth for their ball. And I asked, well, what do you want me to talk about? And he said, talk about recruiting station stuff. And I spent 9 years on recruiting duty. And it's funny because I think about stories, and there were some really funny stories. And then there were some really funny, but X-rated stories that you really can't talk about, you know, and you know, what is appropriate. But when I think about 247 years, I'll be 57 at the end of this month. I was at Little Creek Amphibious Base for the 200th anniversary. My dad was Navy, and we grew up on Little Creek Amphibious Base. So I could remember the Marine Corps had the 200th anniversary, and of course the Navy had their 200th anniversary, and we had posters, and it was the USS Constitution. It was the guy, you know, the sailor and his Cracker Jack holding his son's hand, looking at the Constitution, and that it was like 200 years of proud naval service or something. I can't remember what it was. I had it hanging on my door as a kid.
Yeah.
But the Marines, you know, always fascinated me. We had a warrant officer that lived down the street from us, and we always played Army. You know, we didn't play Marines. We played Army in the woods. And he would bring home those rubber duck M16s. So here we are as kids. We have uniforms that we got out of the dumpsters. We used to go dumpster diving. I don't know if that was a thing. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So there were a couple things growing up on the base. The Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 2 was directly behind our Boy Scout bee hut. You had those wooden bee huts, and they were in a bee hut. And after our meetings, I think it was Tuesday nights or something, we would go out there and we would go dumpster diving in the SEALs dumpster. I mean, I came home with 30 law rockets, expended law rockets. I still have 2 of them. They expand out and the little sight flips up and you shoot the rocket propelled grenade. I came home with 30 of those. My dad's like, son, take those back to the trash. I'm like, no, Dad, this is cool. All the kids in the neighborhood, they'll love this, And so we were handing out law rockets. We're walking down the street with M16s, rubber duck M16s, law rockets, radios. I mean, they threw out flashlights and the big giant radios like from World War II. We literally would go diving through. We had a map and we would go different places. On the weekends, we'd ride our bicycles 3 miles across the base to where the ships were, all the LSTs and Blue Ridge and all those kind of ships that the Marines would get on. And we would go up the gangplank because on the weekends they gave tours. And here we are, we're 10 years old, maybe 11. And we'd get up there and some poor sailor would have to get stuck giving us a tour of the ship, 7 or 8 kids, punk kids. And this is in 1975. And so the guy, we had our ID cards. So you had to have an ID card to get into the base theater or the PX, the commissary, whatnot. Well, we go up there and this poor guy's like, okay, well, this is our 5-inch gun and blah, blah. And then as soon as we got out of earshot of the officer on deck, we're like, hey, we don't really want a tour. The guy's like, well, what are you here for? He goes, we're like, dude, we want the ice cream. And so we'd go down, it's summertime, it's hot. We'd go down into the galley and he didn't care. He didn't have to walk around the ship. So he was happy. And we're just doing the dogtail, getting ice cream and eating ice cream. And then when we're done eating ice cream, we tell the guy, hey man, we're leaving. We're out of here. And then we'd ask, hey, when are you guys shipping out? And they would tell us, it was like OPSEC, nothing.
Yeah.
But the reason we asked that is because we knew where the BEQ, where the barracks were. And on Friday, they would ship out like on Monday. They're throwing all their stuff. That's where we got our uniforms. We got old uniforms. We got dirty magazines that no kid at 10 years old from Italy, from stuff from Italy that you 10-year-old kid should have been exposed to. But we got all sorts of stuff. And so like we'd make our rounds around base and we're coming back with junk all the time. Well, one time I was Little Creek headquarters. They had the amphibious warfare school.
Okay.
And one day we were driving by and hey, let's stop by this dumpster. We haven't checked this one out. So we go climbing in there and it is full of 1930s maps, 20s. And I mean, they were 1920s. They were like 20s and 30s, 1932.
Wow.
They were the big 1 to 500 or 1 to 2,500, whatever the fine detail blown up maps. Right. But they were all of Virginia, all Little Creek, Tidewater, Virginia, the whole 9 yards. And they were getting rid of them.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, man, these are really pretty maps. I mean, the colors and everything. So I scooped up a whole bunch of them. And I come home on my bike and I walk in and my parents are having a party there in the back deck. And my dad goes, where have you been? I said, I'm just riding with the guys, Dad. What do you have? What do you have? And I'm like, man, you won't believe this, Dad. Look, I found all these maps. This is incredible, and I pulled these maps out. And my mom, who's a genealogist, and she's a grave stomper, she would go out there and find old graveyards and do the little drawings on the tombstones for DAR. I'm opening it up. And my dad's like, son, I've told you a million times, quit dumpster diving, bringing this crap home. You take that crap right back to that dumpster and you throw it away. And I'm like, yes, sir. So I go out and get my flashlight, put it on. I had that little flashlight and hook it up to my bike. And I'm grabbing the thing and I'm going back to, I'm like, I'm not going to go all the way back there. I'm just going to go to the commissary down the road about half a mile and dump them there. Well, my mom comes running out the front of the house and she has the keys to the car. And she opens up the trunk and says, come here. And I go over and she goes, put all those maps in the trunk. Now I want you to go back to that dumpster and get every other single map you can find.
Wow.
I'm like, well, Dad told me to throw them away. I'm telling you to get them. So I go back. I listen to my mom, stop by my buddy's house. Billy, hey, come on, help me. So get your backpack. So we go and we load up all these maps and we come back. And I left it outside, and I went and got my mom. Said, "What do you want me to do?" She goes, "I'll open up the trunk." So she opens up the trunk, put them in. Well, it turns out that these old maps actually identify where the old Revolutionary cemeteries were.
Oh.
And they marked. Well, you could imagine that was the 30s. And
Yeah.
now housing developments are all around, or they were forgotten. They're out in the woods.
Right. Right.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive that the connection that was made there. So, wow, that's awesome. Okay, so now we're here with Aviation History Month, and we heard about maps of graves. So we gotta tie this together somehow, Taco. Like,
Okay, so my uncle was
we're
an
gonna push your
F-14 Rio.
YouTube channel here. Tell us about your YouTube channel a bit.
Started during COVID 2 years ago. Don Graves down there. Down, you see the picture on the bottom left. Don is a Iwo Jima vet. And I was talking to Don and another guy who's since passed. And it was on VJ Day, and I had the phone up. And so I was just kind of asking questions. And somebody said, "Hey, you ought to start a podcast." And I didn't know what a podcast was, but I started it. And there we go. So 118 shows later, interviewed all sorts of folks. There's Leakster up there. Those are a lot of the shows that I've uploaded. The live, if you click over to live, it'll show actually all the live shows.
There you go. Very cool.
Yeah, you go to live and then go down. So these are all the people I've interviewed. Chris Cassidy was a blast, astronaut. Some Sonny Duncan, F-35 pilot. Donnie Marine, keep going down. It's just so many different submarine. A buddy of mine he was a submarine driver. Medal of Honor recipients, Barney and Hershey Miyamura. Top Gun stuff. Oh my gosh.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So if it interests me, then I'll call them up and figure out a way to get a hold of them and talk to them.
Wow, very, very cool. I appreciate that. That's a great looking page you got set up there, Taco.
Thanks.
And I'd love to have a chat with you about thumbnails on YouTube. I can help you out with that a little bit. There's a little code to doing thumbnails, and you can really get traction with it. Yeah. It's there's a whole method to doing thumbnails for your YouTube videos. So
no kidding, man. Can you help me out? I'll hire you. How about that?
Well, we don't have to go that far, but we'll figure something out, sir. So So
my uncle, you see the F-14.
Yeah.
I have a thing for F-14s. I know Cindy does as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
Top Gun and whatnot. But my uncle was an F-14 Rio. So imagine this is my mom's brother. So my uncle was an F-14 Rio. My grandfather, her dad, was a surgeon in World War II in Korea. And my dad was a chief engineer. He was an engineer guy on the ships.
Okay.
So when my uncle would come over and mooch meals off of us all the time. And he would show up in his 911, a guitar, cowboy boots, some smoking hot young Virginia Beach girl, debutante. And he would come over to the house. He would play guitar and sing, and he was larger than life.
Yeah.
So he would come over and he would, like for my 12th birthday, he gave me all the flight suit stuff because he was in charge of the para-riggers. I had a flight suit. I had the SV2. I had shark repellent, sea dye. I would take these sea dye markers and go out to the ocean, and we'd light them off and let the sea dye go out. Kids would be coming out all covered in neon green, and what happened? Mom's like freaking out.
Right.
We were kind of little terrorists, but that got me into flying. He had a Cherokee 140, and I started flying airplanes, and then I got into Civil Air Patrol. Then I was in college, and I knew I wanted to be a pilot, to be a commercial airline pilot, because my very first ride was on an American 727 when I was 6.
Wow.
And they let me, it was kind of like airplane,
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, you ever seen a grown man naked? Yeah. You ever served time in Turkish prison? You ever been in Turkish prison? Hey, you're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. No, I'm not, kid. I'm Roger Murdoch. See, I'm an airline pilot. My dad says you don't hustle. Except for the playoffs. But no, I go up there and I'm sitting in the jump seat, And these guys, the captain was like World War II.
Right.
You know, I remember the captain was old, and to me, they're all old. And the first officer and the engineer were probably Vietnam vet guys. And they're sitting there smoking cigarettes. They had the big Ray-Bans. And it was raining when we took off out of DCA. And we got up above the clouds. The stewardess said, "Hey, little boy, you want to go sit in the cockpit?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I ran up there. They could have pried me out of there. I think they sent me back right before we landed, touchdown. and so as a kid, I remember looking out, and it looked like an ocean of white waves, and that the clouds up there. And I thought, this is cool. Pilots get to see the sun when normal people on the ground don't.
Right.
So after that, what do you want to be when you grow up, kid? Oh, I'm going to be an airline pilot. Well, how are you going to be an airline pilot? I don't know. And so in 7th grade, you sit there, and they had that book about that thick, and you open up airline pilot, requires 4-year degree, makes $100,000 a year. Most airline pilots come from the military. Oh, okay. Yeah. Join Army ROTC. Then Army ROTC doesn't work out because the guy told me I was going to be an artillery officer. And I go, then I see the fraternity brother who takes me over. He's in the Marine PLC program, and he introduces me to the OSO, who happens to be Captain Berger, now General Berger, Commandant of the Marine Corps. So Captain Berger shows me all the airplanes they have, their own Air Force, and he suckers me in. I take the test, go take the physical, and then I call my dad. "Hey, what do you think about the Marines?" "Oh, when I was in Vietnam, they were a tough bunch of guys. I used to haul them on the swift boats and stuff." And yeah. He goes, where are you? I said, "Oh, I'm at the recruiter's office. I took the aviation test and I passed, and I am signed up to go to OCS, and then I've got a flight contract to go to flight school." Oh man, that did not go over well. That went over like a pregnant pole vaulter.
Really?
Oh, my dad was pissed, and he got on the phone with the Captain Berger, and it was a one-way conversation. "Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uh-huh. Yep. Yes, sir. I got it. Yep. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, sir. Sir, your son's over 18. He can do whatever the hell he wants." And so, now you think my dad retired from the Marine Corps. He loves the Corps. But he did 21 years in the Navy. I did 29 total in the Marines. Got to serve over in Iraq as the air boss over there in Al Taqaddum. And it was 05 to 06, in between Fallujah and Ramadi.
Yeah.
Nothing says Iraq when you get off a C-17 and you have 8 122 millimeter rockets crashing on the ground, and you can see the explosion before you feel hear the explosion. You can see the flash,
right? And
then you get that concussion hit you, and you're like, "Man, I'm running as fast as I can, man." But you got the body armor on, the helmet, your bags, and you're in a slow shuffle across this 140-degree tarmac. But
wow,
that was good times.
Wow. That's brutal stuff right there. And I will say that as a helicopter aviation mechanic, it was not a whole lot of spending time in the sand for me, but it was definitely not a fun place that in my recollection. However, I like how you ended that up and said it was good times. So
yeah, it was good. I mean, you know what?
It's amazing what hindsight does for those times, isn't it though, Taco? I mean, sitting in our houses now with all of our old regalia around us saying, "Yeah, those were great times." Because it was. We were young, we were full of energy and stupid and just wanted to serve. And that energy and that camaraderie and that everything that went around being a Marine, from Paris Island right down to our sea schools to getting out in the fleet. It's just there's that connection, and you never knew that, right? And that's why we can look back and go, these were great times, right?
Yeah, it had a T-shirt that said, "Embrace the suck."
Embrace the suck.
It sucks, but it's kind of like this cartoon I used to have. It showed an infantry guy sitting in a foxhole, and it's raining, and he goes, the caption says, this sucks. And then you see this, it says recon, and it's raining harder, and he's sitting in there, and the water's getting up to his neck, and he goes, "God, I love how much this sucks here." And then you see the force recon, and he goes, "God, I love this. I wish it would suck more." And then you see the pilot flying overhead, and he's looking down, and he goes, God, I bet it really sucks down there. So it's all the different perspectives, but all of us trained, we all put on our green trousers before, we put on the gold wings,
Yep.
and we're all Marines first. And,
Yep.
it's funny, when I got married, my wife's driving around and I slapped a round Marine Corps sticker on the back of her car. And she comes home one day and she goes, it's the damnedest thing. These people like speeding down the highway, all of a sudden stop, pull up next to me, honk the horn, give me a salute and wave. What's up with that? I go, oh, I put a Marine Corps sticker on the back of your car. Is that what it is? I go,
About
yeah.
that.
She goes, I didn't think that you guys were that big. And I go, we are the largest, smallest gun club in the world, honey. And that sticker right there identifies you as being associated with me, or being a Marine yourself, a spouse or a Marine yourself. And Marines will do that. You don't see Army of One. You don't see Proud to be a Rust Picker. You don't see any of those others, but you will see that round. And sometimes you get fooled by the NRA sticker, but you'll see the round Marine Corps sticker. And it'll say Proud Parent of a U.S. Marine, or it'll say just United States Marines. Enough said.
Yeah.
Get you out of speeding tickets sometimes. And, it's a fraternity that you go. And so when you asked about deployment, I was 39 years old. So Teresa and I had been married 2 or 3 years. Mike Horrocks, who was the co-pilot on United 175, went into the South Tower, was a squadron mate of mine for 3 years. So I knew Mike really well. And, now here I have a young family. I'm just doing coloring books to stay in the reserves. And I saw all my friends get immediately mobilized. And I'm going, you know what? I trained my whole life to be a Marine that goes to war. Not that I want to go to war, but that's what you train for. It's like horses training for the Kentucky Derby. And you're waiting for that one shot, and you're out in the pasture and your buddies are loading up on the trailer, heading to the Kentucky Derby. Well, they went, and I always regretted, because the commanding officer at the time had invited me to come back to the squadron, which was kind of tough to get into. It's a real clique gun club,
Right.
In the reserve sometimes. And I wasn't current on the airplane. So I said, nah, let some other guys do it. Well, now I'm going, all right, they're all mobilized. They're in Afghanistan, then they're in Iraq. And for 2 years, they were mobilized. So I am doing recruiting duty, and I'm out in San Diego, and I meet this guy who is the monitor. And I tell him, I want to go to Iraq. You do? And I go, yeah, actually I do. Oh, he was so happy. He could have given me a hug. Here's my card, swapping numbers. And so this guy emails me all these job positions that are open. Battle captain. I'm like, battle captain sounds pretty damn cool. Do you know what a battle captain is?
No.
Yeah, neither did I. Sounded really cool. So I put that on the short list, right? Air boss. I go, what's the air boss do in Iraq? He goes, I don't know. I guess he bosses airplanes around. I go, I've been on an aircraft carrier. I know what that is. Put that up there on the short list. Here's this other one. That looks pretty cool. Hey, I've got these other ones. I go, no, don't. I'm not here to do a purple hat job. I don't want to be joint tour in Iraq and Baghdad.
Right.
I want to be with Marines. Oh, hey, go to Tampa. You could work for CERCOM, and you could be on the beach every day and be the midnight watch officer. I'm like, no. The war, my kid goes, hey, granddaddy, what'd you do during the war? Like Patton's speech?
Yeah.
Well, I was shoveling shit in Louisiana. No, I don't want that. I'm with the boys, right?
Right.
So I sign up, and I tell my wife, by the way, I'm getting involuntarily recalled. And she happens to see an email that I posted. It was on my computer. I got up to go to the bathroom. She came in to get some rubber bands or something out of the desk. And she's reading this letter and says, hey, jackass, I volunteered for this shit. Excuse me. I hope I can say that. I volunteered for this stuff. So I don't want this, or this. I want this, or this, because I'm a volunteer. You volunteered.
Oh, no.
That didn't go over well. But after we got over that misstep, I went over and had a successful tour, turned 40 in Iraq. And, kind of the old man, I ran the airfield, an old Meg base. So pretty cool. And then I started writing. There was a thing called anysoldier.com where you could send a package. You could find somebody on the website, and then find out later till later. Like if you wanted to support me, they would charge you $3 to get my address. I thought that was, later I found that out. I thought that was kind of shitty. But I started writing because I couldn't write a blog. You weren't allowed to write a blog. I started writing stories, and I would post them to that. People would go to my profile and they'd read that. And then they started sending me packages, and I started getting maybe 7 or 8 packages a day.
Wow.
In Iraq, the little
Yeah.
little boxes that you can just fill up,
Little
and then
shoebox
it's
thing,
prepaid. Yeah. So I'm like opening it up, rat through it. Okay, that looks cool. Take the customs sheet, and I'd write a personal thank you note to each person that sent me a package.
Right.
And then I would go out to the field, out to the outpost and all the security positions. I would show up my SUV and I'm like, take this, here. You've got 2 packages. You've got 3. I am ordering you in your spare time sitting here in this guard shack to write a thank you note to Miss Cinda Lou, to Bob Jones, to Jamie Smith.
Right.
You write them a thank you note and you say, Major Bell says, thank you so much, but please support me, not him.
Very good.
And that's
Very
my
good.
orders, right? If you don't do it, you get no more.
Right.
And they're like, yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Good deal.
So,
Well, I'll tell you what, we're at the halfway mark here, about our half hour mark. So I know Cindy's always wanting us to try and make sure we wrap it up in time, but I don't want to cut you off. She did want us to talk a little bit about the Midway Museum and about what you love about the Midway Museum, because that's obviously a hot spot for her.
the Midway is fantastic. The docents are probably, docents all around the place are very good. Docents take pride in learning the ship and whatnot.
Real
But
quick,
I've
for
never
our audience, explain what a docent is.
A docent's a tour guide.
Okay. All right,
The tour guides on the Midway, Paul Ward and Don Williams and Gil Gerard and all these folks, they really take extreme pride in knowing every inch and facet of that ship.
Awesome.
Where somebody in the Navy that served on the ship might actually only experience his bunk to the chow hall to his workstation.
Right.
And back in the 3 years that he was on that ship. He knows absolutely nothing about how the anchors come down or how this worked or how that worked or the elevators or the damage control, or those guys know everything. They're fantastic.
Right. That's
so
awesome.
I've been on the Lexington, and I landed on the Lex as a flight student back in the back of an A4 once. I was just there at the Lexington. That's really a cool one. But the Midway to me was more personal. I love the Midway. It's a bigger ship, and they have tons of stuff there.
Very cool.
As a matter of fact, I just watched a movie the other day, a short film on Amazon about a guy flying an F4 Corsair off the Leahy in Korea, and they shot down a bunch of MiG-15s, and they're Russians.
Right.
But apparently, they couldn't talk about it or whatever because it would start World War III. But they filmed a lot of that on the actual ship on the Midway. So that was really, really cool to see. I mean, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, I just saw that airplane. I literally just saw that plane. No, they weren't in Corsairs. They were in F9 Panthers, and they just painted this Panther up with the little Russian kill MiG-15 kills after Captain Williams, who went on to retire as a Navy captain.
Got it. That's incredible. Yeah. So the idea of Cindy, stop it. You're being nasty now. Major plane porn. getting her all worked up. Well, I'll tell you, Mitch, I really appreciate you coming in today and sharing some of these stories. And again, just a little bit that you said there at the beginning. I'm going through some personal struggles with some young adult sons in my life right now. And just to get that little confirmation of the things that you went through to become a Marine have made you who you are and stick with you your whole life. And when the world kind of rocks at you a little bit, you can always steal it up with, but I got through Paris Island, bitch. So you know what? Bring what you got, right? I mean, come on, bring what you got. So so I appreciate that confirmation.
Yeah, that hard work. My son asked a question. One of his teachers is a Marine. He served 3 years, artillery, and then got into MP field or something. But my wife and my son, they were asking a question about what makes the Marines stand out. And I go, you know what? First of all, you could be at a big giant party and the two Marines are going to meet at the bar. First of all, right?
Yep.
1770. Yep. Tons Tavern.
Yeah.
We're going to meet at a bar. Then we're going to start talking. And within usually, Robin, about 6 questions, we drill down far enough that we find some commonality
Yep.
of somebody you served with, or you knew this guy, or, oh, I was there at that duty station, but we were 3 years off, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
You find this commonality of embracing the suck.
Right.
That other units I found, I did a joint tour with the Army in 2008 in Kabul, Afghanistan. And I went around with my little lieutenant's book and I'm asking them all, where are you from? Which, your kids play sports and stuff like this. And so as I'm going around talking to these guys, I realized none of them, you went through Parris Island, somebody else went through San Diego.
Yeah.
But you guys served in Second Mall, or you served in infantry school together, or you did whatever, right? You're on the 32nd MEU. Somebody you can find a commonality where the Army is so big that they don't have that bond.
Right.
You went through Little Rock officer course in the reserves. You went to West Point. You went to Army ROTC. All these guys were so huge. They had no. So you know what? Took a Marine, baby. I sent an email out to 20 officers and I go, hey, Thursday night, we're having choir practice. Or no, it was Wednesday nights. We're having choir practice at the Rose Garden. And the Rose Garden was literally, it had some benches and they had this one rose, they had a rose plant. And so this guys back home sent me boxes of cigars. And that was my big deal, was my vice was smoking cigars.
Right.
So I said, choir practice Wednesday night, 2100, come get a free cigar. And so all these guys start showing up. Well, I'd be like, so Robin, where are you working? Oh, I'm over at the RTC section. We're doing the regional training centers and da-da-da. Hey, as a matter of fact, have you got that new PowerPoint that you guys are going to give for the briefing? Yeah, but that's closed hold. We can't release it yet. Do you think you could do me a favor? Do you think I can get an inside copy? Because I got a little inside baseball. I got to give my boss a brief about something. Oh yeah, we got more work done in that. And bonds were formed there that I still have friends with all these Army guys. Well, my replacement shows up and I tell them, I give them a no kidding book, and it's 1-sheeters on every single officer, lieutenant colonel, and colonel who's part of my cigar deal. And I'm like, these are the belly buttons that you need to, a couple majors are in there. You need to be friends with these guys. Here's where they're from. Here's their kids' names. Here's the sports they play.
Nice.
Yeah. And I gave it to him. And I said, if you make friends with these guys, they'll share stuff. Other than that, they keep the cards close to the chest, brother.
Sure.
So I'm home and I'm emailing my buddy, Johnny George. He's a retired 2-star now. I'm like, hey, Johnny, how's my replacement? He goes, dude, he's the biggest dick in the world. I'm like, oh, really? So he's not continued the cigar night? And he goes, hell no, we don't include him anymore. We have it on our own. I mean, we all had cigar jackets made, so we would take off our blouse, and we had our trousers on, and we'd put these just god awful gaudy cigar jackets the Afghans would make out in town in Kabul.
Sure.
And we'd smoke cigars, man. We got great pictures. We had a lot of fun. This guy just had no sense of humor, and he was a knuckle dragger. I hate to say, swing with the wing or be a grunt,
That's it. Swing with the wing, baby. That was what it was all about.
Swing with the wing.
Always about the whole time. Yeah, it was great. People said to me, you're going in the Marine Corps. I said, no, I'm going in the Marine Air Wing. And they'd be like, well, you're still a Marine. I said, yes, I am.
Yep. We went through all the BS, man.
I make the officers' helicopters stay in the air, so they treat us a little differently than the rest of the Marines.
What would you work on? What kind of helicopters?
I was a Huey Cobra avionics tech.
Oh, so you got to go fly and stuff.
Oh, I was front seat Cobra many, many times, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Was that? Were you east or west?
I was east. I was over at New River.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just up the street, Chairless Pit.
Chairless Pit. Yep, yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a couple of pilots that came from Texas, and they loved getting in those Cobras. They treated them like they were a damn bucking bronco. They would just throw those things around like they were their Ford pickup truck back home, and God help you, you get in the front seat of one of those things with those guys. They try and see if they can get you to throw up, and
Yep.
so
Yep.
you got some there's no roller coaster that can match that. None. I don't care where you are, you can't match the front seat of a Cobra. It's just not possible. So
And did you get sick?
never, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No,
Nice.
never let them catch. No, not maybe on the inside, but I wasn't letting it out, brother. Paris Island guaranteed that, man. It was not coming out, man.
Oh man, I would have fed you some boiled eggs, given you a
Yeah,
Coke, a
well,
little carbonation in there, and boiled eggs, so it tastes better going up the second time.
I was a little smarter than that, sir. I will promise you that. That was not going to happen. So, anyway, we got the whole thing going on here to wrap it up. How are you going to celebrate tomorrow, Veterans Day?
So we have a group of Marines from World War II. We still have a couple members from World War II.
Wow.
Korea, which they're passing rapidly as well.
Yeah.
Vietnam, which believe it or not, Vietnam guys are 85. They're 80 to 85. Yeah. And then our current generation. So each month we get together for a Marine Metroplex luncheon, and we do it the first Thursday of every month, except for November. We do it on the 10th. Right. This month happens to fall. The 10th falls on the first Thursday. So it worked out really well.
Yeah.
But we all get together at a Veterans Resource Center. We have the cake. We do the ceremony. We read the messages from Lejeune, and we celebrate. And then everybody goes off on their own. All the Marines, the local aviators here, we have a Ton Tavern.
Yep.
Or we have a tavern downtown and in Grapevine, and we go smoke cigars and share a beer there. And then the 11th, am I giving a speech somewhere? I think. And then the 12th, I'm doing a car show with some vehicles. We have a bunch of armored vehicles and different
nice
stuff. And then that night, the 12th, we're doing the Marine Corps ball. So throw on the tux, put the medals on, and
very cool. Very cool.
Come up with a good speech.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that was one of the only things that I sometimes regret in not staying in longer, is that I didn't have that lifelong connection to it. Although, I still have friends from when I was in the Corps and new friends that I've made around here. I don't know if you ever met Chris Lambert. He's a Vietnam combat Marine, but he's he's down in Florida. He was out in California, but my little town in Dallas, Georgia, he actually started a Marine support group right here in the, I mean, literally it's the restaurant's across the street from my computer store, 3 miles up the road. So,
and where's Dallas?
Dallas is northwest of Atlanta, just northwest of Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a Marine buddy that is directly east 1 hour.
Okay.
And he works on Porsches. He was a mechanic aviation guy, as a matter of fact.
Very cool.
And he works on some helicopters at a museum out there.
Very cool.
And he has armored vehicles. So if you ever want to go out and meet a really great guy, he's a cool dude.
Well, I'll get his contact info from you. I have to go over to Conyers, which is out that way. Maybe I'll get his contact info and stop in on him.
It's directly 1 hour east of the airport. Directly east. I got on whatever the highway was. And
I-20.
Yeah,
yep,
I-20.
Yep. No doubt. No doubt. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'll tell you what.
Thanks
sir,
for letting me join you when we're wrapping this up.
Yeah. Let me just make sure that I touch all the bases. Cindy gets mad if I don't make sure I copy everything before we get done. So, end of the show. Anybody else you want to shout out to before we go, Taco?
You know what? To all the Marines who are deployed, God bless you guys, and may He look over you and protect you. And happy birthday, 247 years of hard charging Marines. Gotta love it.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, the thing that I always love to say to people about the Marine Corps, why it's such a big deal to be a Marine, is I give them a timeline. I say, look, so November 10th, 1775, the Marine Corps was born in a bar. A bunch of drunks said we've had enough. And July 4th, 1776, we declared our independence from Britain. That's all I got to say. There's nothing else to say. Okay. End of discussion. It took us less than a year to kick the bad guys out of the whole country. So don't tell me or ask me why I wanted to be a Marine. That's why I wanted to be a Marine. Nobody else could do that except Marines. And that's the way it is. Right. So
Are you on social media? You're on Facebook, right?
yeah, I'm all over the place.
You know, all the friggin' memes that show up right after Halloween, the guy sitting there drinking a beer and he's whispering in the girl's ear and he goes, you know, in 1775, these Marines were in a bar. You know, it's like, stand by. Every Marine's going to post a picture of themselves in uniform and tell you it's the birthday of the Marine Corps.
Yes,
God,
sir.
yeah, we are.
It's hilarious, right? It's hilarious.
It is. Everything, every Marine profile picture pops up with Marines in uniform and the whole 9 yards.
Yep. Well, it's funny because I have my son in his uniform sitting here. He's in the National Guard, and this was when he was actually training at Fort Jackson,
oh, that's
in South Carolina, and then there's with the soldier shirt and me with the Marine shirt, right?
I love it.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, Cindy's yelling at me that we got to get out of here, man. I really appreciate you coming by, Mitch. You have an awesome rest of your afternoon. Happy birthday to you, sir. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming in. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better. And anything else you want to say before we send you to the green room?
I'll get up with you about our thumbnails. You got me peaked, so I could use the help.
I'll shoot you my calendar link, buddy. You have a great afternoon. And again, happy birthday, sir.
Hey, happy birthday to you. Hoorah.
All right, take care. All right, well, thanks everybody who watched today. We appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. Next Wednesday, we're celebrating with Chappie at the Midway Museum at 2 p.m. and learn the truth about how cruise rates actually work. And if you're interested in that, go read some of Cindy's bucket list coach chats going on with a couple of people talking about cruise rates. She had to try and straighten them out a little bit. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for coming by today. This is the Bucket List Web Coach Show Live. My name is Robin Stern, your Google guru, sitting in for the slightly under the weather Cindy Lee. You guys have an awesome and amazing rest of your day. Go out there and change the world, everybody.